Hey, how's it going? It is May 25th, and we are continuing to work on the home lab. Yesterday, I made a lot of good progress with moving things over to my Proxmox server. That's great because I'm moving things off of my primary AI agent machine, and I'm going to slowly start building up my Proxmox environment more. So again, that goal is to eventually have a 3-node cluster, and I'm letting AI manage this. Let me, one second, I need to click on my stream. That's why I need to have the chat available right in front of me. There we go. Because I'm using my tablet, so I have the chat right down there so I can see everything that's happening. Uh, hey, One Solution, how's it going? Hey, thanks for dropping in. Hey, this is the fastest time somebody's joined in on the stream. But I'm also constantly trying to scream more each day. But yeah, not sure if you're into home labs at all, but this is the focus of at least these last couple of streams. And I'm trying to use an AI assistant. Today's goal will be trying to create more VLANs. That way I can segment out my network, and that requires me setting up the VLANs on my managed switch, on my OpenSense machine, and then finally in my Proxmox environment on those host machines so they understand those VLANs. Also, if I have time, going to look into potentially moving to a local agent. Right now, I am using Claude. I do know the security issues with that. That's why I am doing it on my home network. I've built my home lab over and over again several times. So if anything does happen, I can build it from scratch. And most likely, I probably do need to update my Proxmox environment anyway. But the goal eventually will be to move from Claude to a self-hosted agent. I'm familiar with Olama. I'm not sure what other tools are available. I hear good things about Gemma 4 as far as the model, but if I have some time, I might look into that as well. So let me see if I can. I had it. I'm gonna see if I have this website status checker up. I had my AI agent trying to create this. So I'm just using Visual Studio Code, and I'm using Claude to connect to my agent because I want to have a way to kind of keep track of the things that I'm doing. Right now, outside of the home lab, I'm seeing can it make a nice little web interface. Originally from Georgia, currently residing in the great state of Colorado. It's nice, it's beautiful. I am hoping we are finally out of the cold weather season because that was extremely frustrating. I'm a person that I need warm weather. I absolutely do. But yeah, been out here for a few years. It's been great to us. Never really had any problems or issues. Let's see, is the site up? Let's see, it's serving in. And on the LAN host running external LAN host you set behind a reverse proxy. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, I'm trying to get this details page up. This would be a way to track. And if I can't get it up, don't worry about it, that I can just move on. This is just me just doing extra stuff. So Claude is my daily driver right now. I do have an account with Codex. I just really haven't used it yet because that's why I started with Claude. And most things, like normally when you start off with a tool, you tend to dive deeper into that. There's always going to be another AI tool. I just haven't had the time to dive into Codex. I'm more used to Claude, but eventually, hopefully, I do get the opportunity. I'll probably try some projects with that. I've also tried Base 44. I think wasn't a big fan of that personally. There's just my preference. I do like things where I can access the terminal. And I think with a Claude, with a Codex, it makes it very easy whether you want to be in Visual Studio Code or their desktop tools or your terminal. You have a lot of flexibility. As far as I know, with Base 44, it had like this web UI that you were kind of stuck in and limited to. So I think that's probably for the non-technical. I do like more technical options. Let's see. Validate the local files exist without modifying. Allow this. And my agent is on my, and if for those that did not tune in yesterday, my agent is in my basement on my machine that I built. It has an RTX 3060 graphics card, Ryzen 7 CPU, 90 gigabytes of RAM. So it works out very well to have an agent. Right now, of course, there's not a lot of processing power being taken because I'm using cloud hosted agents. But if I do end up moving to Olama or whatever local hosted agents, those resources are going to come very, really in handy. Because I'm not doing a lot of crazy things. So a local agent, I think, should be able to handle most of the things that I'm wanting to do, like creating lightweight applications, task lists. Usually a lot of summarization, article summarization is what I do as well. I think the problem that I might run into is some of the local permissions. I think I've tried to use that before with a local agent and I had some issues. So they've probably matured enough where they have those type of capabilities. Maybe when I used it, they just didn't have those capabilities. Let's see, check the process, allow. And while that runs, allow all commands in this set. Oh, I can't click that button. Oh, auto approve. There we go. All right, let's see, does that work? Right now, what's happening is I had it just create, I'm trying to get it to create the status checker for my HomeLab. So an easy way to visually see it via a website and trying to get it to serve over Python. So this will be a way as I'm constantly going with my HomeLab, making changes, making updates, a nice little web interface to kind of show the status, not only to myself, but you guys, I think would be handy. So I'm kind of pivoting just for a moment, seeing if we can kind of create this lightweight web application. And while it's doing that, let's see if our machines are up from yesterday. So yeah, so yesterday we migrated our Pi-hole machine, which is for our DNS as well as ad blocking, to our Proxmox server. It got a domain name on the LAN, so piehole.lan. I do also need to eventually update it where it's accessible over Tailscale as well. So when I'm outside of my home network, I would still have access to these machines. And I do need to do it HTTPS proxmox.lan, I believe. Was it not proxmox.lan? Thought I had that set up yesterday. I might need to go back to refer to my notes. In the meantime, I can hit the IP 201. And then here is my Proxmox server here. Right now it's it's just one machine, one node. Eventually I'm gonna have 3 nodes. So you can create your virtual machines. Again, this is just a recap of yesterday for those that are not familiar with Proxmox or what my goal is of this entire project. So with Proxmox, you can create container machines. So very similar to lightweight Docker machines. It does have some limited resources. So there's some things that you can't do on an LXC machine. Sometimes what I do is I just use it for lightweight services such as Nginx and Pi-hole, for example. But you can give it a host name. You can make an unprivileged or a privileged container. You can set up an SSH key so you can get access to that from a terminal or another machine. You do have to put in a password in order to proceed. Because by default, you get access on the terminal, and the default username is root. If you click next, this is where you can decide where your storage is. Since I'm only using a singular node, it's going to be on that local machine's hard drive space. But the goal eventually will be that I'll have Ceph storage, which will allow me to basically aggregate disk space from multiple machines, so it looks like one storage device. My machines will end up having 1 terabyte of storage, so I would see a Ceph storage location, that's CEPH storage location, instead of the local machine. And then for the template, this would be for, these would be almost like images, essentially, think about it. So what's your operating system that you're going to utilize? So I have options of Alpine, Debian, Ubuntu. There are others that you could download from the internet as well. These are just the ones that I have downloaded. So I might do Debian 13, click next. From there, you decide on the size of the disk of the machine itself. And again, it uses this what we call local LVM. Basically, it's a way for you to You can specify more storage than is actually allocated on the disk. Um, how do I explain this? It's kind of like you can say, for example, let's say the machine had 10 terabytes of storage, and I wanted to create a virtual machine that had 100 gigabytes of storage. It's not going to prevent you. You still can say it can take up 100 gigabytes, but it's really only it's going to show you how much you say you want to allocate. But of course, you're not using that from the start for the most part. So you only might be using 2 gigabytes. The benefit of that is it allows you to expand out eventually. So you can still say this machine should have 100 gigabytes. It's not going to limit you as long as you're not using more than the host operating system's disk space. Next. Then you set how many cores you want to use. Same thing. You can go over the cores of the machine, but it is going to warn you. So I might do 2 cores. Then you set your memory. I wish this was in gigabytes as options as well. So you do have to put it in megabytes. So of course, 1 gigabyte would be 1024. And then you set up your networking. So you can set up what interface it should utilize. Should it get an auto MAC address or a hard-coded static MAC address? The bridge. This is going to become in handy when I create my VLANs. So that's going to allow the network segmentation. So by default, everything's going to be on the 0 VLAN, which is just my main network, 192.168.1.0/24, which allows that .0 to 254 IP range, so everything can see each other. But for example, if I have my IoT devices, my smart devices, I would want that on a VLAN where that really can't be accessible by the majority of my home network. I would still want to turn those on and off, like maybe for my mobile phone, but I don't want to allow these IoT devices to have full access to my network because, of course, that could be a security vulnerability. You just know how people's smartphones and microwaves and things get hacked and all those types of baby monitors, all that type of stuff. So that would allow me to set up a VLAN, and I can say, hey, these devices go on that VLAN. Proxmox also has its own built-in firewall as well. So you could say, hey, these devices should only be able to communicate on this network or only open these ports on these devices. So even though I have my own OpenSense, I still actually even have my own firewall built into Proxmox as well. That comes with the service. I don't use it just because I do have OpenSense, but I guess they could pair together potentially. And then you have your IP address situation over here. So you have a static or a dynamic IP address. So static, of course, you'd come in and put your IP address. You have to do it in CIDR notation, I believe. You have to do 192.168.1, let's say 200. And then you have to do the segmentation or the CIDR address. So 24 would be the 4 range. And of course, you can subnet it as well. Then the gateway, if you're doing a static IP 192.168.1.1, what is the actual gateway? But then, of course, you can also do a DHCP address as well. DHCP is going to come in handy with my OpenSense machine because I can set up DHCP ranges for each of my VLANs. So addresses are going to be applicably assigned based off the VLAN that they're in. And I really don't use IPv6, so I just kind of leave that by default. And then last but not least, you do have your domain name servers or your DNS. So you can, by default, I'm just going to leave it because I'm using Pi-hole anyway, but you can set up DNS specifically for each machine. And then eventually you would click next. It would give you a summary of what you have selected. And then you click start after created, and it would create your virtual machine. And then you do have some advanced options depending on what screen you're in, like the MTU over here for the networking. Usually I don't have to mess with that at all. But that would create a Linux container in your Proxmox system, and that's why I have one for Pi-hole and Nginx. And then this one over here, this icon, notice it's slightly different. This is actually a full-blown virtual machine. It's using Ubuntu server, so not much of a user interface, but you could deploy an operating system that does have a user interface, such as Windows or a full-blown Ubuntu. And you do that by doing create VM. You give it a name. Every VM will have an ID. By default, it'll use the next available ID. It starts at 100. That's the lowest number. The highest number is going to be 999, I believe. You can say start after boot, which basically means if the host operating system, your Proxmox actual host machine, if it goes down or you restart it, do you want this virtual machine to restart when it comes back online? You have a similar option with the containers as well. Resource pools is really just tagging. It has no functional usage other than grouping. Um, Same thing with tags as well. And then here you can select your operating system. And these are ISO images that I have downloaded. So I have OpenSense, I have Ubuntu. Those are images that I've already downloaded. So I do have the ability to select those. The operating system, the base operating system that you're going to be, that this is, it just kind of, I think it just helps with the allocation of resources. So Linux, Windows, blah, blah, blah. I haven't used the physical CD before. I've usually just done the ISO. So I'm unfamiliar with that option. But you do need to select one to proceed. And then you just select more information on your system. The graphics card stuff, usually that just means when you're trying to access it from the terminal or you're getting a shell, how it's going to display. And you have a couple of different options. Usually I don't have to mess with that for the most part. Disk space usage, so you do set that up as well. How much disk space should it use? CPU. Down here, these are advanced flags right here for CPU configurations. And these are the types that are supported because this is emulating a CPU. So these are options that it has here. Then how much memory, and then you set up the network as well. So you can also select a VLAN as well. And then it's going to give you the summary, and then you can also then create your virtual machine. So that's just a quick overview of the Proxmox environment, some of the options, and I'll have some other videos to kind of go over that. So let's, this was kind of using that time to see what's going on with Visual Studio. So we're going to pop back over there. All right. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Allow all commands in this section. Okay, it's looking at port 8002 to run this application. And again, this is more for status tracking that I'm looking at making. All right, let's see if that is up. Nice. Okay, so I just had it quickly create this HomeLab status checker where I can come in and mark things as done. I'll probably have it do it as well. So this will just hopefully be something that I can utilize to keep track of the activity. And then I can also add tasks. So pretty cool. Pre-flight checks. And let's ask it, maybe I want to go ahead and create this as a container. Let's see. Should we create this as a container in our Proxmox environment, or keep locally? I may have you periodically update the application. All right, so just asking for a recommendation. It's usually, I do a lot of that normally. I ask this the AI agents, like, what do you recommend? Obviously, I don't have to go with it, but kind of just, you know, conversation wise, if you're thinking about it as an assistant, I'm thinking about it as, okay, you have certain knowledge, right? So let's kind of talk about this issue and let's kind of decide which path should we go on. For a status site you plan to update periodically, I recommend you put it in a Proxmox environment rather than keeping it only locally. Persistent service that survives reboots, easier to expose on your LAN, cleaner isolation, easier to back up, better long-term for reusable live stream status apps. Use a small LXC or Docker container on Proxmox, serve the static site from a server like Nginx, and I already have that set up. Create a minimal container. And keep the app files in Git tracked. Perfect. Okay. And then I'm going to ask it, how are we going to keep the application updated? Sounds good. And how will we keep the application updated with changes? Git. And I have an idea how it's going to work, but I'm just kind of just making sure the workflow, because realistically what's probably going to happen is the source code. Well, actually, no, the source code is probably going to live on that machine, and it does have SSH capabilities. Interesting. And then just do a git pull. multiplay, update, copy files, play. All right, sounds good. Make the plan for migrating this application to a Proxmox at LXC. Well, I'll just say 2 Proxmox. I'll let it decide where it wants to do a virtual machine or a container. Let's see here. Can I? Nice. There you go. I wanted to keep the chat open over here, and I wanted to now open, well, not this window here. So that way we can keep the chat open. And what we're going to do is let me come over to, I'm missing a screen. There we go. So now I'm going to come over to my OpenSense machine, but actually give me a moment because normally on the OpenSense machine, it does expose your IP address. So that's why I'm going to put this screen up for a moment while I log in and change my screens. Zoom out. And then I want to go to System, Settings, General. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now I'm on my OpenSense machine. So yesterday, what was accomplished is that I did test it creating an actual VLAN. So it created VLAN 99. It even came in and I went down to my rules. It went ahead and created firewall rules as well. So it exposed SSH and HTTP and HTTPS traffic, including I think DNS may have already been there. So that was a test yesterday to make sure that the agent could perform that task. So today what we're going to do is try to get it to build out more of our VLANs. If I come over, let's see, I need to go to my Obsidian notebook and we'll take a look at and this is just a replay of yesterday, really. This was the overall network diagram. This is something I had before, going to try to end up recreating in Proxmox, but the external internet comes through my ISP, comes into my modem, goes to my firewall. OpenSense has 2 NIC cards. So the external internet comes in on the WAN, and then the internal internet on the second network interface card goes to all of my internal components. So it actually comes down into my managed switch, which does have 8 ports. The managed switch, all the ports will be able to the ports will be set up in a way where it can access the VLANs. And then what I would have eventually, I'd have multiple Proxmox host systems, including a backup server. If I come over here, my unmanaged switch, this is what my hardline Ethernet is connected to for my home devices. I don't know why I have iPhone here. Let me just put like desktop to say laptop. But yeah, all of my devices on my home network that have hardline Ethernet, they go through the managed switch, and that's on port 1. I did have a Raspberry Pi, but no longer having that. If I come over here to Wi-Fi, I have an Eero mesh system, or Eero. It's a 3-node mesh, so I have 1 pod in my basement, 1 in my living room, and then 1 in the loft space. So proper coverage across my home, and it extends a little bit to the patio, which is good, so I can work out there every once in a while. And then that gives it access to the main network as well. And then I do have a guest network because it has 2 SSIDs. So it has the regular Wi-Fi network that I access, and then it has 1 for my guests as well. So that provides additional separation. Speaking of additional separation, on port 8, that is where my Hue bridge is. So that's where my smart lights are connected to. So that's also important for the VLAN, so I can segment and separate that out. All right. Let's see where we're at. Okay, so it did create the plan. Open preview. I like to view things in Markdown. Okay, so move the apps, because I have this app directory that my agent has access to. Home network stream status site from the local storage to a Proxmox persisted hosted service. Establish a Git-driven update workflow so future changes can be deployed cleanly. Provision a Proxmox container. It's going to create a small, lightweight Proxmox LXC or VM for static web hosting. It is recommending the resources: one core, 512 megabytes, and 5 gigabytes of disk space. Put it on the same VLAN as internal web infrastructure or management network that can reach the reverse proxy. Lightweight web server, use either Nginx or HTTP server. So this part shouldn't need step number 2. So I'm going to need to clarify because I already have an Nginx Docker, container image. That is going to deploy the static site, configure the web host, status.lan, home network stream, server name, status.lan. But I want to change that name because everything's called .lan on my home network. Integrate with your LAN reverse proxy, validate access, get base source, update source files, push changes, pull changes into the container, SSH into the Proxmox container, run the git pull, restart or load Nginx only if changes, use a simple deploy in the container to pull updates, clone ongoing maintenance. Okay, yeah, so we do have an update that we need to perform. Oh, close this window. Oh, did I lose I think I lost the chat. That's fine. I can always come back to it. Yeah. Yeah, so I popped out the chat and it kind of it's done a weird thing here. So I'm just trying to get the window back open. Okay, here it is right here. Okay, there it is. And so then here's my plan. And what I can do is I can add notes. Note, Proxmox already has a, well, you know what? Yeah, I'll just do it in the chat. Proxmox environment already has an Nginx LXC machine. See what else? As this land, Pi-hole is used. Pi-hole for DNS. Now, looks like I didn't remember that, but I'm also, it's a thing with context. I'm like operating out of different directories too. Because technically it should have pulled that up because I do have that in my claw.md file, or at least it should be. Okay. All right. And just making sure because I'm probably going to want it to handle it. So I'm always making sure that the agent is adding SSH key. And I mean, it's just running a VS Code without persistent credentials. However, I can help you set up. Wait a minute. Okay, Claude Haiku. I'm just making sure I'm not tripping with some of these like chat, which also should still be open Claude or Claude code. Succeed, authorize key, purity of SG's, your approximate environment. However, I can help you set up in a few ways. It's running VS Code without persistent credentials or storage. Interesting. Let's see, agent. I am not using So I must not be. This must be separate from Claude because notice it has this upgrade. I'm already have access to this via my subscription. So is this? Is this GitHub Copilot? I think this is just straight up GitHub Copilot. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Save that plan. Did you save the plan? Oh yeah, it did save the plan. So I should be using this, and yep, this was GitHub Copilot. Well, luckily it saved the plan. So what basically happened was with my Visual Studio Code, I SSH into the machine, and I guess with GitHub Copilot, there's this by default automatic chat feature, which has low usage for Claude Haiku, and that's how I was able to determine, okay, I should have access to Sonnet because I do know I have a subscription. So let me close this, and then let's say, do we have a model? Yeah, so I do have access to these models. So it was using GitHub Copilot, I guess. Weird. Okay. What is today's plan for the home network? Okay. Check the Obsidian directory for the home network vault. Today. So definitely lesson learned. Yeah, and for my Obsidian, I'm using it's on a Samba share. So that's what's allowing me. That's what allows me to open up. For example, I can go to my Obsidian. This is actually the vault for my home network. It's on this share. So if I went to manage vaults, we can see this is actually that that // Odyssey. That's the name of my server, and then I have the home network folder underneath Obsidian. So okay, so I can close this. Come back in. Here's a summary of what's done today on the one new file created. Yeah, so it did not. So let me close this out. Excuse me. I'm going to come back into Visual Studio Code. This regular chat, this is GitHub Copilot. Go to Claude Code. Let's see, can we session history? Okay. Okay, so that allows me to the conversation I was just having. And then let's come into Obsidian and then home network. References. So this put that file someplace else. Excuse me. Wait, yeah, this is very because this looks to be the exact same thing. This chat and that chat. Okay. All right. So we're basically just trying to find that previous history. And if I don't find it, then I'm just going to just redo it. But that is very confusing. Yeah, because again, yeah, search models, Claude. Okay, let's see something. Yeah, Telegram Act, that was yesterday. I'm looking at the timestamps here. And then come back to this. Okay, here we go. Home network. This is a session. So this is a session I had started. Okay. Question is, where is this file? Okay. Ah, okay. It put it underneath the apps directory. Okay. So actually, that needs to be moved. So if I come over to apps, I have this home network, and here's the plan. From local server to existing Proxmox migration plan. Okay, so now I come back to Claude, and now here we are, and we're going to cut that plan out of there, go to Obsidian, go to the home network, and paste that file. There we go. All right. There's a new file in the directory called plan.md. That has today's plan. Please review. Yes, because normally I use Claude from the terminal, so I was confused on that. So I guess again, by default, chat, I'm assuming that's GitHub Copilot. Yeah, there we go. Copilot resets. My suggestions, code base. Yeah, so I'm assuming it was using that by default. Okay, so back over here now for our plan. Some reason plan, deploy to Nginx, SSH, configure. Okay. Review your claude.md file. Are there any conflicts or incorrect assumptions with the plan? Consider your access. Because it has access to my open... Because it does have access to my OpenSense firewall, it has access to my Proxmox environment, it should have access to the LXC machines, meaning it should also be able to add its SSH key. So that's what threw me off when I was doing the previous chat, because it was saying, oh, I'm just a chat assistant. I don't like it totally have access to it. So I was talking to the wrong chat tool, even though it was on my machine, it's going through a different provider or whatnot. So it didn't have the same level of knowledge or permissions that my actual Claude configurations have, because it has full access on the machine. Okay, so coming back over here. So it has both documents in context. So I had it compare the claude.md file, which I have right here, open preview. So I always create a claude.md file. So this helps the agent, when it goes into a folder, understand the context of the folder or the code or any specific instructions you've given it. So even if it gets compacted, so that conversation gets summarized, it will always reload the claude.md file. So that's why, double check that I did open this one, open preview. Yeah, claude.md. So it understands the network. So every time, if I have to come into this folder or it compacts the conversation, it does understand. So this gets loaded into the context. So it understands, oh, I'm eventually going to try to have 3 hosts for my Proxmox environment. And it understands the subnet. That other chat did not have access to this. So I think that's why the plan was kind of messed up. So I had to compare this file with the plan that was generated. And we're going to see what it mentions. The plan says interior testing, but per Claude, it's part of phase 2. So it didn't update phase 2 yesterday. Premature paths, engineer, both conflict, asset scope. So target actions. Okay. Phase 2. Because it looks like the statuses were not updated. Yeah, phase 2 was completed. Okay. So yesterday, Nginx was, and both Pi-hole were set up in Proxmox. Remote into the perform a full review of the environment to confirm the current status. You have access to Proxmox and Open Sense. After you are complete, update the plan, which is to deploy the network status application, web app, as a Proxmox machine. It should have a TLS cert and domain name. All right, so I do the /goal, which means it's going to try to work on this until completion. So I've given it a very careful instruction to let it know, hey, basically it should just do a review of the environment, because it seems like the claude.md file was not updated at the end of yesterday. With the end goal of this is that a new container is going to be deployed. That's going to have the network status application. Is this over engineering? 1000% it is. But it's also a part of that tech debt or education that you have to kind of utilize or go through to understand how to use these tooling. So this for me is helping me try to communicate with the tool better, as well as understanding what are some shortcomings. So some of the shortcomings that I noticed, obviously, I guess I was not sharing the screen while I was doing that, so apologize for that. Yeah, sorry. So what I was doing is I was looking at my claude.md file here, and I noticed that there were things that was not updated. Specifically, phase, it said we did not do phase 2, which we did some of it because the Nginx container was deployed. So this file was not updated completely yesterday. So that's how we kind of got a little bit off track as well. In addition, that previous chat was not taking any of this into consideration. It was looking at the architecture, and GitHub Copilot does not look at claude.md files by default. I imagine that's what the issue was. So we had some different context going on. Things weren't updated yesterday, as well as this file was not being read, and I was using the wrong chat box or chat tool and not Claude. So kind of have to start over a little bit to make sure that we're in the correct state. And that's why I did the /goal to tell it, hey, I need you to look at the environment again. Look at OpenSense, look at Proxmox, and let's make sure we are up to date. And if we are, then go ahead and deploy this new web app. And again, that also confirms that it still does have access because it should be able to create the container, and then we'll just have a nice web interface that we can utilize. So while that is doing that, I'm going to see if I can bring up, actually, I don't think I can bring it because I think I migrated it yesterday. Yeah, I did migrate it yesterday, didn't I? Well, I was going to try to bring up my news information, but I did not migrate that. So we'll just have to wait for a moment. I might. Give me un momento. I'm going to bring that over there so I have access to see it. Close these things. I'm moving stuff off to a screen. And what we're going to have is actually a slight little coding break. If I can get this to work. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so we're going to have a slight little game break. I enjoy playing Rocket League, so while this is coding, I'm just going to go ahead and play a little bit of Rocket League. This is my go-to game, so I'm able to see what's going on in the window, the code. Actually, you know what? Hold on. 8. One second. Oh, my partner is going to hate me. No, I'll come back over here. There we go. All right, so back to it. See if I can get that above. I missed that. Oh, he snuck that by me. And again, the code is still working on the side, still trying to do the goal. Oh, come on, that bad bounce. I'm going to get this boost down here. Oh, crap. See if I can tip it. Yep, but I did not get it in the goal. Come around. Can I get it down? Come on, partner. Corner bounce. Oh, that was going to be a good one. And he's going to get that boost before I can. Yeah, running on fumes right now. Side boost. Oh, I cannot believe he got that. Boost down table. Oh, come on. Get that one. It's going to bounce off the wall. And a terrible. Come on. Like, I'm creating some good openings here. Boost. Ooh. And I don't have enough boost. Yes. Nice. While I'm looking at that, just manage, no get remote, new. It says it did create it. All right. After this game, I'm going to go back to. Oh, nice. He got that one. Almost got in the way. Yeah. So that does say the machine was created. So once I'm done with this game, we're going to see is it up and running. Domain name works. Just asking it, does that domain name work? All right, get some airtime. I knew I wasn't going to get that. Oh my. I can't believe he got that. I was sure he was going to go past it. Okay. And it says the LAN doesn't work. See, can I get it off the wall? Don't have enough boost to get there in time, but I can get this boost though. And come on, come on, come on. Ooh. Ooh. Nice. Partner got it passed. I get the boost down table. And Jesus, that's a push. Killing me. Oh, wow. Oh, we'll take it. All right. Cool. Now back to the coding. That was a little break. All right. Bring this back up. Okay. Nothing has been deployed yet. Let me verify. Let's see. Pi-hole. Search. Oh, it hadn't updated the plan. That actually already exists. Okay. Proceed. One change. Rename it. It should be renamed to HomeLab status.land. But no, we'll just leave it as, yeah. So we'll proceed. Yes. Proceed. So yeah, so it just updated the plan. So if I come back over here, I should probably really implement version control. So again, because it has access to my entire home network, it's able to verify things. So OpenSense is up, Proxmox is running, these machines are running. It does have a certificate. Let's see. which it should use this because there was an MK cert that I had on this machine and that was conflicting yesterday. And then the application. So nice little network check that it has right here. Again, this is just verifying that it has full access. Again, HomeLab, you want to do this on, you don't want to do this on company environment. And then OpenSense DNS override already configured. Proxmox. Interested in this. Why is Proxmox and Pi-hole pointing to the same machine? That looks to be an error for sure. I think that's why it did not come up when I did the maybe that notice. Yeah, it's weird. But yeah, so I don't know, that's weird. So I'll come back and double check that because I think the IP address is just wrong, but it does come up. Existing MK certs, Pi-hole, Proxmox, Nginx. Yeah, a couple apps that I have not deployed yet either. Then it talks about the goal. That's what I specified to deploy it as a dedicated LXC machine. But it looks like, and coming back to Proxmox, oh, well, there I do see it because it just created it. See, here's the checklist of items. And again, this is why it's really good to create a plan so you have some type of structure for your application or as you're talking to the agent so you can kind of keep track and status of what it's doing. Now it's adding the reverse proxy information for this. And going to continue to look at the plan, create the stream status. And it even downloaded a Debian template. And I could have given more instructions, like use a specific template, because then that's like the base operating system that you're using. And then there's the command for creating the container. And again, this is being executed directly on the Proxmox host machine. And then there's the bridge that it's setting up. So it's on VLAN 10. Notice right here, VMBR 10. That's my 10 subnet or VLAN. And we can see the address right there as well. Then it installs Nginx. Why is it installing? Because it shouldn't need a local Nginx. But technically, as long as it has the certificate. So, and I think that probably can confuse because there's supposed to be like a global Nginx, but it looks like each one has their own Nginx as well, or at least some of the application is deploying its own Nginx. But I guess it's technically not a problem because as long as the DNS is pointing correctly, it's going to point at that machine, is going to hit its reverse proxy. So actually, that's not a bad idea because I was saying originally I was having one Nginx container for everything, but maybe it's not a bad architecture idea to have every application have its own reverse proxy as long as it can get the certificates. Then that does make it a little bit fluid and each application handle its own reverse proxy situation. I don't know. I'm not mad at that architecture wise. But of course, one is easier to maintain. But then again, it's automated. So it's a trade off. It depends because I am eventually going to have a lot of applications. You know what? I think I do like that because if I do need to make an update, I don't have to go through the entire Nginx file because that could mess with other things. Instead, I mess with it specifically for that application. As long as and DNS is pointed to that machine or container, then yeah, everything should be fine. Okay, so hey, learned something new today, or at least a new architecture that I think might work better. Deployed the files, and it pushed the files onto the machine. Verify, regenerate certificates. Nope, and it's using those certs. Add the DNS override. Open sense. And then this might be the issue over here. So it looks like it's creating, I think it's creating its own MK cert instead of using a global MK cert. So let me take a look. Because it does say there's existing. It creates it, it installs it, regenerate. And so the question is, did it copy the existing certificate? Okay, yes. So I think it did. So it copied it to a directory specifically, and it can call it mkcert to then create it, and then it has everything including status. So this got appended. So it basically recreated the certificate. Excuse me. It should still be valid. We'll see. Hey, how's it going, Samuel? Yeah, hope things are going good today. Thanks for dropping back in. Continue to work on the HomeLab. Right now, I had it create. At least I'm having it deploy a new container in my Proxmox environment, seeing if I can just have a web interface to check the status easily. Excuse me. Let's see. Date. Validate loads correctly. Okay. Let me see. Let's see if this is up and running and accessible. Potential that we're going to get a certificate error. And this is the application, how it was hosted on my main site or main machine. And this does look accurate. So it does look like I can access this. Let's say test. Nice. Okay. All right, so I think that is up and running. So yeah, this is just a little status checker, essentially. So now here in Proxmox, we have a virtual machine or a container specifically for this. All right. So I can come use these. Using old tablets part of the web app will let you do that. Oh yeah, I'm just using it for my chat. So literally this is how I'm able to see the chat. It's right below my monitor, right here. If that's what you're talking about, yeah, I could definitely add something to that as well. So this would be something that I could every day, ideally. I can just pull this up and then hopefully like have it journal and see where I'm at and keep up to date and maybe do tasks. Because I'm a very task oriented person, it kind of helps. But yeah, I could probably have the chat put in there as well. Okay, so we have our container. Let's see, stream segments, use segments on air to guide the live stream. Oh yeah, also organization wise, I'm kind of terrible sometimes when it comes to live streaming, like organizing it. So that's what this stream segments is that each day before the stream, ideally I can come in and I can just set up the goals of the stream and also show you guys what the goals of the stream are and then the tasks that we want to accomplish for the day. So this will be something that going forward, I'll want to use for the HomeLab situation here. Verify, confirm, open sense, and I would say, okay, mark this as done. All right, I consider that done for this stream. Infrastructure setup. Okay, so next, VLANs, deploy Pi-hole, Nginx on Proxmox, and validate. So we haven't finished this entirely, but we can move on to the next segment of the VLANs, infrastructure setup. All right. And I'm going to come over here to the chat with my agent, and I'll say, this task is complete, and I can access the machine. Update your documentation, including your claude.md file. Thanks. I mean, that's the goal. Hopefully, at least there's something that someone gets from these videos. I'm taking the hard path of doing this stuff live, but that's also how I learn best. Is I'm definitely a trial and error person. I'm not just I'm just going to go through this tutorial and end to end. I kind of get bored and I kind of just jump around. But the way things connect in my brain is I have to sometimes go the hard path. And so kind of doing these live streams is the goal of that. Is I'm learning things on the fly, sharing it with you guys. Maybe you guys will have questions too that I haven't thought about. This is really mostly just trying to see, what can these tools do? Can I automate my home lab? Because anytime you create something, I would say, that's relevant to you, it makes it lock in more, at least in my brain. So I want to be able to, at the end of this, I like, whether it's my tablet or something, I'd probably have it on the wall and I can quickly see the status of my home lab, right? Or maybe I click a button and I make a log or something like that. So I do want to really make it interactive, is the overall goal for it. But I'm going to have a ton of self-hosted applications. Again, going back to the Obsidian document, over here, yeah, I'm going to have a ton of different virtual machines and containers. Authentication, that's something that I may want to tackle today if I have time, deploying a tiny auth server as well as with Pocket ID that allows you to use SSO. I'm sorry, OAuth authentication. So I could use my GitHub or Google account to sign in to my self-hosted local applications. Because one thing with hosted lab applications is you kind of get tired of creating usernames and passwords. So this would allow you to use a OAuth authentication. So I can just click a button to authenticate, and you can set up accounts across your home as well for other users to have access to get through. So it works for applications that obviously do support OAuth. But in addition, if you have applications that don't have traditional logins at all, you can still set it up where there's a route where a person has to authenticate, or a user has to authenticate before they can get access to an application. So, but yeah, documentation, couple of different containers, including Excalidraw, I forget how to say it. That's very similar to draw.io, and you can have it locally. Tiny RSS, so your local RSS feed. So yeah, and then you have all this monitoring stuff as well. Uptime Kuma, I really like that one, seeing the status of your web apps. I might end up creating something locally as well, but that's something that's tried and true and works. For my DevOps people that are into coding, ByteStash, that's a self-hosted application where you can store code snippets. So think of things that you use regularly, or you just want to document. It's your own local storage location for code examples or templates. Git EA, I always say it wrong. That's your local version of GitHub, essentially. And then, of course, for a CI/CD pipeline, you have Jenkins, where you can do automation, where you can deploy or do things in an automated pipeline fashion. All right, so coming back over here, it's updated its documentation. So next, what was I saying? We want to work on the VLANs. Yes, okay. Actually, I'll see. Take a look at the status.lamp, and are we ready to move on to what I call it, infrastructure setup. Infrastructure. Actually, before that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and compact the conversation. So compacting is just going to summarize what's been done, because I can see that I'm about to reach the context of this session. So I could create a completely different session if I wanted to, but I want to save some type of memory. So I'm going to compact it. What's going to happen is that Claude.md file, that will be reloaded. So even when you compact or summarize that conversation, if I come back over here to Home Network and I come over to Claude.md file, open the preview, it's still going to load this file. So this is a good place for you to give it information on the folder or the project or instructions or things that it should know once you restart this conversation. So this is always going to be reloaded. So that's why it's going to know information about my network architecture architecture, as well as the VLANs, the VMs, things that we want to set up. So I always set up a claude.md file because it's very helpful for this purpose. When you start a new session in a specific project, or even when that conversation does get compacted, it does have this information in the context. So you don't have to tell it over and over again. And what we're going to do, we're going to take another quick little Rocket League break while I let that compact the conversation. I'm going to quickly play a little game. Rocket League is my go-to. It's where I just kind of refresh my brain throughout the day. I don't play a ton of video games, I would say. I'm mostly a linear storytelling gamer, especially when it comes to consoles. So your Uncharted, your Metal Gear Solids. I'm currently playing Soros right now. But as far as, I wouldn't even say competitive with Rocket League because I don't do any tournaments, but I do enjoy this because you have to be like you can be very accurate with your gameplay and then riding up the wall and then all that type of stuff. So yeah, Rocket League is one of my go-tos. So we're just gonna get a game in real quick to kind of reset my brains. So I'm gonna let Claude compact its conversation, and I'm going to compact by just playing a game and then come back to the code. I usually stick with the same vehicle on Rocket League. If you're not familiar with Rocket League, it's basically cars and soccer, pretty much. All right, and we're playing 2v2. They also have 3v3, and some modes have 4v4 as well with special rules. Oh, he got it right past me. Get the boost. And can I get it? Can I get it? Yes. And I could tell he was behind me. Sometimes you can't tell if it's going to hit the wall or not. It's going to bounce. A little bit of a bounce. Get it past them. And a little high. Oh, crap. Oh. Woo! Barely saved that one. And I didn't save it enough. Yeah, and the games are 5 minutes, and it can go into sudden death. But you get these boosts. Give you a little nitrous, and oh my god, did he? Oh, come on. Yeah, the ones where it just falls directly in front of the net, that kills me. Okay. Yeah, that should be a boost down here that I can get. Yeah, he played that one excellent with the rebounds. Mini boost. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Oh, of course, and I still missed it. But he got my game is terrible. I completely should have gotten that pass, but at least it went in. So let's see. I thought it was going to hit the ceiling. It did not. And pop up. I got this. The positioning on this is just killing me. All right, there we go. And try to. Oh, he came out of nowhere. Oh, I messed up my partner. And of course, he was in the perfect position for that. Come on. Yes. It's like he got a accidental backflip. Well, I think he's doing that on purpose now. So you have teammates that just get so frustrated they start throwing games. I'm pretty sure that's what's happening with the blue team. Whew. Let my teammate have that. I'll stick down here for a minute. God. Oh, you got to be kidding me with that respawn. All right. Close. Oh, that was terrible. All right, at least I timed that one right. And you do have to rotate when you get. Oh no. Oh, they're just in the perfect place. Yes. Finally, I got a decent shot at least. All right. Boost down. Not sure what he was doing. Hmm. Gotta get that hang time. All right, we'll take it. All right, that is my break time. Back to it. Okay, let's see what we got here. Now we were about to go into the next phase. So we were looking at. Oh, that's weird. Oh, no, it's not weird. Oh, gotcha. Let's see what that was. Yeah, so infrastructure setup. Okay. Review the stream status app. And are we ready for the infrastructure setup? Close this, bring this over here to this side. Again, so a way to keep up with the stream. So I'm even thinking now, I will probably make this a way to like have it by project because I'm gonna have different streams. So this might be a good way for me to have an overall checkbox or checklist to do. Let's see, can I make that full screen? There we go. Yeah, so this is going to become its own app for my streams, I'm thinking, because I do very well. I do better with checklists and things like that. So maybe even like collapsible panels or things like that. Maybe even overlay. But right now, just focusing on the home network lab. But this will become, I think, a stream status application. Okay, let's see what we got here. The app looks solid. Here's the assessment code review. No blockers. Responsive, manner, full infrastructure setup, accessible, done. All right, auth layer rollout. Okay, so yeah, build VLAN bridges. I want to say that's not done. So let's see, can it add a task, as a matter of fact? Infrastructure setup. Can we add a stream segment after infrastructure? Yeah, I'm doing too much. I'm doing too much. We need to finish the VLANs. Tomorrow, done. To deploy the app on. Okay, that part is done because we've just tested things. So I'm gonna come back to my other VLANs. That will be another configuration. So I'm gonna say infrastructure setup is done. Now we're gonna go to the auth traffic. Okay, explain the auth layer rollout in more detail. Because I haven't used what's it called, Athelia. I have not used that. I've used TinyAuth and Pocket ID, but gonna have it give me more details on what this configuration actually consists of, so I can understand whether or not I want to implement that or the other items. So the infrastructure VLAN. Oh, this is the infrastructure VLAN. Ah, yes. Okay, yeah. I see what it's saying. So coming back to my Obsidian notebook. So it's creating a VLAN really for I think it's combining networking and authentication essentially into an infrastructure VLAN is what it's doing. Let's see, VLAN migration plan. Yeah, matter of fact, here's the VLAN migration plan. Move off services into the infrastructure. And so it's using this plan in order to, so yeah, this is the first one that we're actually utilizing. So okay, that makes sense. All right. What the auth layer is two services working together. The LLDAP. Oh, this was the other day. I was thinking also with my Linux machines, I keep having to create local user accounts. It would be really nice if I can just have LDAP for Linux, right? So I can just create a singular account and use that across my Linux machines. And so the recommendation was LLDAP as the identity store. So it's a lightweight LDAP server, only requires 80 megabytes of RAM. It holds users, passwords, and groups. You manage it through a web UI. Think of it as a tiny Active Directory that runs in a Proxmox LXC. Ooh, I love it. Ophelia, the gatekeeper, sits in front of every .lan service. When you hit, for example, piehole.lan, Nginx asks Ophelia, is this browser session authenticated? Before passing the request through, if not, it redirects you to auth.lan to log in. One login covers all services for the duration of the session. I really like that. Okay, and then it gives me the architecture flow. Browser goes to a domain. Domain goes to Nginx. Nginx validates the request or provides an authentication request through Ophelia, which then passes through LDAP, which then returns you to the actual machine or service you're trying to access. Browser to the original Sensei session cookie. What needs to be built? Two new LXCs on Proxmox, both on the infrastructure VLAN, which is VLAN 10, following the same pattern as LXC 106, 107, 108. So that should be, and I can come back over here, Pi-hole, Nginx, and stream status. LDAP configuration. Inside LXC 109, LDAP runs a single binary with a config file. The key settings are LDAP port 3090. It's internal and not exposed outside of this VLAN. The web UI has its own port, SQLite database, the base domain name or DN record. Um, oh, wait, sorry, distinguished name. Sorry. Admin user created on the first boot via the web UI. Ophelia configuration inside the new container, and it's already expecting it's going to be 110. It's probably going to be incorrect, but it can also give its own name for your container or your ID for your container. Ophelia is configured via a single YAML file. Session cookie domain will be associated with the .lan domain, parent domain. This is what makes SSO work across your subdomains. Authentication, TOTP, two-factor available per user. I like that. File system notifications, but I haven't set up email or SMTP. 2 new Nginx virtual hosts. Nginx VLAN and LDAP. Sans in the current block every existing LAN host. This added to its server block. Every existing LAN vhost on LXC 107 Nginx gets this added to its server block. And this is Ophelia, so we have this /request, and we can see what the target is. Excuse me. We have the error pages that will redirect. The location, again, /Ophelia, it's going to be internal. We have the proxy information. We have the headers. 2 new OpenSense DNS overrides. Auth.lan and LDAP go to Nginx reverse proxy. The reference doc got wrong. It was written before the VLAN migration. So it also looked at that SSO plan. I created that yesterday. So it's just saying, hey, there were some things that were stale or incorrect based off of the information, the most update information. Here's what we're looking at. DNS via OpenSense unbound config. Right, IP addresses, Proxmox pattern, and Nginx sites available. Okay. Together use only fuse adding want to be certain to put them both together. All right, cool. So we're going to go work on and complete the You know what? I don't need to give it a goal because it knows what it wants to accomplish. I think a goal is better if I had not. I've already planned this out, so it's just there's no real. It's still it should complete it. So I'm gonna say yes. Begin the deployment plan for LLDAP. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. I will be right back. Going to grab a quick little snack. Before I do that, yeah, 1 second. I'm going to do a studio mode situation because what I want to do, I know exactly what I want to do. So remove this. I'm going to duplicate a scene. So let's see, screen. Yes, break with code. Copy. Paste reference. There we go. And then what I want to do is, here's my display capture. Sorry, just bear with me for one moment. I'm going to do a window capture. Yes, I think that's where it is. Let me bring this down. There we go. Think I got that. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and take a little break. I'll be back. They're just adding a little overlay that shows that is a break, but you'll still be able to see the chat. Yes. So let me screen with overlay. 1 second. Let me take a look before I step away. Plan for. Here's the summary. Execute. Yes. Execute. Okay, I will be right back. The code will be up in the display. Okay, we are back. So it does look like it is continuing. Let me open it up full screen over here with the overlay. And there we go. See where it's at. Oh, there we go. All right. SQLite works fine. Let me check LLDAP's config for the static files. All right, let's go take a look and see. All right, so it does have there is a new container here. We can confirm that. LLDAP 109 has been set up. If I go to the network, notice it does have a static IP address. Also, I didn't show this the other day. It does use the regular Ethernet interface on the container. And then we do see it is on the VLAN 10. VLAN essentially is using that bridge, and then it creates a static IP address. I like to have clean IP addresses for the most part, so in that 10 range. Let's come back over. Okay, it's updating SQLite with proper rules for the database. It says it's running, the database is initialized, the admin user has been created, port is available. Now it's moving on to Nginx and DNS. Again, that's because I have this Claude MD file. It's starting to understand more of patterns and behaviors. So it's going ahead and starting to go ahead and add that domain name on the LAN. Okay. Reloaded cleanly. DNS overrides, and you notice this checklist is continuing to update. Section same way. Edit LDAP. Reload. Again, you see it's doing stuff with open sense because again it has access to it, so you can go ahead and take that action. And it's validating, updating the to-dos. It says it is deployed. And now it's updating the claude.md file. So that's good because we want to make sure that going forward, it's able to know what the status or the state is. And not mess up like we did yesterday where we didn't actually update the file correctly. So it's going ahead and taking that action. There's even this task.md file, which I was unaware of. Oh, so this is a file that I had like a long time ago. I imported it into Obsidian. So there was stuff that I was doing before as far as journaling, and it's decided to go ahead and update that. So now we have journaling for what this is actually a really good a way to keep track of what I've been doing in my lab or my home environment. So it's decided to, even though I didn't mess with that until I stopped in September 2025 updating this file, since I did import it recently, it's deciding it's going to update it based off what we're doing now in our home lab. So I didn't even ask it to do that. So that's a nice proactive action from the agent. So nice. Okay, so it says the LLDAP deployment is complete. It should be accessible on this at this URL. 2 quirks fixed along the way. Nice. It's giving me information on things it needed to do. The database URL needed mode RWC. Otherwise, SQLite would not create a new file without it. And then there's a JWT secret Java excuse me, JavaScript web token. It's required config field in version 0.6.3, separate from the key seed. I don't know a lot about that, so I'd have to double check that. Then provide my admin credentials locally. And then Othelia, it's telling me is at 10.0.10.40. It binds to LDAP and becomes the forward author layer in front of all LAN services, ready to plan that. So that's actually the next step. So let's go ahead and see, can we access that site? Open this up. And look at that, we can access it. And let's go ahead and grab those credentials that it did set up, the initial credentials. Admin. Of course, I'll be changing this after the stream just in case. And there it is. There's a local user that it has created on the LAN. So I can do some lightweight users, groups. Nice. Let's do a user real quick. Let me just say for me, you can even upload an avatar. I do have an avatar of myself. Let me go to my, got some thumbnails over here of myself. One second, I'm gonna move this out of the way. I'm missing a photo. Yeah, I'm missing a photo for some reason. It's weird. Go check my downloads. Oh, fine, we'll just do this one. All right, and then a password for the user. And I don't have email set up. Okay, for now, I'll just do no reply at test.com. So light and dark mode. Okay, perfect. So now we need to work with Athelia. Let me go ahead and add that as a task. Set up Athelia. And then you can just mark the task. So again, that's just my app for kind of keeping track of items and things. Okay, so coming back to Visual Studio Code. Yeah, correct. The goal for now, the goal will be then to potentially move over to a local a local agent. I need to understand which one I want to use. This is my HomeLab environment, so I'm okay with blowing it away if I have to. I do need to install a new version of Proxmox anyway. So yeah. Let's see. Athelia is at 10.0.10.40. Oh yeah, well, this is the next plan. We're using about 47% of our context. So I can just go ahead and proceed with the next step. Okay, and then we do have this task file here. You can right click and do the open preview if you like Markdown, which I do. Let's see. And yes, this is today's date. Audit the environment, create the stream status LXC. That's what you're seeing with this web app right here. Again, this is mostly going to be, I'm probably going to separate out into projects so I can use this from actual live streams to kind of help with my workflow a bit, as well as tasks that I want to accomplish it. Try to make myself a little bit more structured. Regenerate the MK certs, which it did do. It added the domain names, added the DNS record as well, and it did validate that it was up. So this is looking good here. Coming back over. And here's the to-do list that it's going to keep track of with Athelia. So looks like it's already created that LXC machine. We can verify by going over to our Proxmox system. And there it is. And we can come over to, is it resources? Yeah. So you can see how much memory as well as cores that it has provided for this machine. Looks like it does not need a lot of resources, which is great. Um, and then we can see the DNS settings as well as the IP address information. So it's gone ahead and created this machine again, since it does have access to the Proxmox environment. So that, as far as like creating machines, that was a big part of this automated home network that I wanted to make sure it was able to do. So it's great that it can quickly spin these up. So that just means in the future, any other virtual machines I want, I can quickly have it create. That includes even self-hosted applications that I architecture and have it create itself, such as that stream status. That's a locally, that's a Claude created web application, which now I can host. And again, the benefit of Proxmox to me is that you're able to have these very specific services on these virtual machines, and you can back them up as well as do snapshots. And you're not having to have an operating system and then a virtual software on top of it. So I don't have to have Windows and then VirtualBox or VMware. Proxmox is the basically virtual software that's running. Essentially, it's a level 1 hypervisor, so it has access directly to create those virtual machines. So eventually, what's going to happen is I'm going to have 2 additional nodes. Let's see. Let me go to my documentation. Um, Nodes implementation. Yeah. So actually, I'm going to have more. So Asgard is the one that we're currently using. I'm going to have Olympus, Valhalla as well. Those are going to be node clusters. Well, it's going to be a 3 clustered node, which means those are the primary host machines that um, my virtual machines will run on, and then they'll share that Ceph file storage. So each one has 1 terabyte of SSD. Together, that means they'll have 3 terabytes of storage being able to use across, and then machines can be moved around on these hosts as I see fit. Lyceum, that's going to be my backup server. So any virtual machines, I can just back them up to a singular location if I want to, including I can back them up to the host machines as well. It just makes it very easy and you can schedule it. Tartarus, that's my OpenSense firewall. That originally, I might, is that what I called my OpenSense machine? I didn't think I called it Tartarus. I had Pi-hole, Pi-hole. Oh, not Pi-hole. I had a Raspberry Pi at one point that I was using, so I think that name is incorrect. But anywho, OpenSense, it's already configured, and then the agent has access to that, so that's already set up. And then Midgard, that's just my laptop, so you can put Proxmox on a laptop. It's not very resource intensive. And what I did was I took the battery, and this is just a regurgitation of yesterday. I took the battery out of my laptop, installed OpenSense on it, so it's plugged in directly. So the battery itself isn't being consumed; it's just plugged in via the charger. And then you set it up on Linux, where you can have the lid close and it doesn't power off at all. So I just have that sitting. So if I do want to do a demo Proxmox environment or testing, I can use that machine as well. Um, and then some of this is just already this is the old plan, but these are just like categories that I want with networking, IoT devices, monitoring, and logs, and all that type of stuff. So yeah, so eventually we're going to have a 3 node cluster of Proxmox host machines. Going back to VS Code, see where it's at. Yeah, it's extracted, setting it up. The binaries and creating a user account. It's creating a system.d, so that's a service account, so it can spin it up, spin it down, restart it, all that stuff. And again, since it has access, it can run all these commands autonomously. And again, it's running on my hardware. Oh, da, 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 da. Okay, writing these configurations. Push all host to 107. Yes, because Nginx is running on 107. Unprivileged, stripping those directives. Yeah, the namespace sandboxing doesn't work. There are certain things with the Linux containers that they don't have permissions on. Sometimes you can get around it, but it doesn't have full-blown access like a virtual machine does. There's just certain resources that I have issues with LXC machines, so not entirely surprised it ran into an issue there. Excuse me. What's this little shield? Oh. And while we're doing that, like I said, this Obsidian folder, this is actually a Samba share on the agent host machine. So I made it so I can have these separate vaults for Obsidian. So it makes it easy for me to come in and target a specific vault because I do love Obsidian for notes. And I wanted a way in order to share that across my home network. One issue with Obsidian is that on mobile devices, it has to be locally stored on the device to open it. Otherwise, you have to use Obsidian Sync. Not necessarily trying to pay the $5 for it right now, just from my use case. Obsidian's a great tool, but I'd rather like have things locally if I can. So that's one limitation on mobile devices, at least on iOS. Maybe Android, you can do it. I'm not sure. But what I did was I had one original large notebook, and it was just very it was very condensed, right? I had a lot of different categories all in this thing, and I usually need to focus on a very specific stuff specifically. So I had cybersecurity, I had automation, all this was in one notebook. So what I did was I had the agent go through and scrub my notes and then recommend creating new separate notebooks for this. So now with Obsidian, I can come in and I can open up a notebook off my share. So if I click open, this is the Samba share, so I can just access it using the domain name itself. So here's Obsidian, and then all of these are individual notebooks. So for example, I do have an ethical hacking notebook. So select that. Oh, is there nothing in there? Oh, yes. So there's, let's see. Oh, that was old. This is a deprecated folder. Everything actually went into cybersecurity. Whew, I was about to get worried for a second because I had a lot of notes in there. So come back over here, cybersecurity. There we go. So these were different notes that I had, especially when I was going through stuff such as not open box, but hack the box, try hack me, general education stuff. So here's a lot of notes that I have. The images have been lost. I'm going to see if I can end up cleaning that up. I just don't think they've been migrated over. So that part does suck a little bit, but maybe I'll be able to find those. But this is its own notebook. So I do have this organization here, which I do like. So I'll go ahead and close that. And this is just killing time while the agent's doing its thing. Come back over here. See where we're at. Scroll down. DNS is live, starting Athelia. And I'm going to scroll up a little bit. See if there's anything stick out from what it was accomplishing. So yeah, we stopped on the sandboxing. Domains. It requires at least one period in the domain. There's a hard constraint. Move from .lan to home.lan. Expand domain changes required. Oh, so there's an interesting thing here that I was unaware of. So Athelia rejects single label domains, such as right now I'm just using .lan. So it is saying that everything needs to move from .lan to home.lan. That's its recommendation. Of course, I can have another name, but home.lan is fine. Changes required, which will need to regenerate the MK cert certificates. And it does understand what needs to be regenerated based off the services and the LXC machines that I have. So it's going to regenerate it, which it did accomplish. And the great thing with MKCert is that you can have multiple domains in a single certificate. So it's going to cover home.lan and .lan. So that's nice. The Athelia session cookies must be on home.lan while keeping .lan for the virtual hosts. Authentication free, so it's backwards compatible. That's actually nice. I didn't think about that. So that's actually a good use case for that. I can always deprecate the star.lan and just make sure everything goes to home.lan so that way it is authenticated. Yep, it's updating Nginx, the container 107. Reload OpenSense Unbound DNS. DNS is live. And it did verify home.land. The domain does pass. LDAP bind error is returning not a subtree of the base tree. This is caused by mixed case DN in the Ophelia config versus what LDAP expects, all lowercase. Fixing the configuration. Okay, and it said, hey, same error, but the case wasn't the issue. Let me verify. LDAP search. So again, this is working autonomously. All right, LDAP search had an issue there as well. And now it's continuing to troubleshoot and trying to figure out a resolution to this error or issue. Okay, it says the HTTP API works fine. The admin logs are successful. There is an issue with the LDAP layer, and it's going to check the report to see if it's responding to the raw LDAP protocol. And now it's checking for verbose logging. Now, the great thing is with the channel integrations with Claude. Sorry, my brain wasn't working for a second. I could like load this up in Telegram or something, right? And I can just go take a walk and still get access to this. I haven't played around with, I think there's like a handoff mode or something, but I think that only works locally if this code was on my machine. So it's not on my machine. So that's through Claude Desktop, where you have the ability to hand off your session from your desktop and access it on your phone. And so you're still controlling your desktop. I don't think that works over SSH. So it had to be more like session based. But yeah. And I do have a Telegram integration. It does go through Hermes, though. I don't think I need that anymore because I believe Claude has its own Telegram integration. I just haven't tested that out specifically to see if there's any limitations. Scroll back up a little bit. All right, found the key. Verbose log shows LDAP base equals DC equals example /com. It's reading from its SQLite database, which is initialized earlier with the default configuration. The database has the wrong distinguished name baked in, and it needs to wipe it out and reinitialize it. That error makes sense. It's an example and not what is current or accurate. So that's why the LDAP issue did occur. All right, so it's still sure. So right now we're just in a troubleshooting loop situation or scenario. And again, I'm using my Claude subscription, not API. API calls, that would be very expensive. So I'm gonna take another short break. I will be. Oh wait. Ah, I did not realize. I never transitioned the screen. Uh, I swear I'll get better with this live streaming. I was still on the break screen. I did not realize that. So you were hearing me, but you were still seeing the break screen. Which sucks 'cause I'm about to take another break. But anywho, what's happening is it's yeah, really sorry about that. It's installing Athelia. Oh, well, it has installed it. It's created a Linux virtual machine, and it's just figuring out there's some LDAP configuration issues that it is troubleshooting. So I do apologize. I do need to take another break. I promise I will fix the transition next time when I come back. So let me reset my break timer. I think refresh the browser when the scene becomes active. There we go. And I'm gonna move that timer up because I think it was hard to see last time. So I will be back, and I promise I will make sure the screen is showing what I'm talking about. So right back. Okay, we are back. So it seems to be complete. It says Athelia is fully developed, and it did update its notes. It's updated the diary as well. Diary. It's updated the journal as well. Let's come over here, and it's checked all these URL endpoints. So let's go to, for it says these are now protected. So let's go to status.lan. And now it has redirected. Let's put in one of the users that I've created and see, does the redirect actually happen? No. And let's go, oh, hold on. So now let me come back in. Credentials, so maybe, all right, let's see. All right, so it redirects with that, but not the user that I created. Oh, I didn't save my user account. Interesting. A reply at test.com. All right, submit. And now let's see if I clear the cache. I'll need to come in, inspect, go to application, clear. Cookies. Okay, there's my Athelia session right there. So I need to go ahead and clear that. And then let's do a refresh. We get redirected. And let's see if I put in my username, the new user that I created. And we do get access. So now we have a way to authenticate to our applications if we needed to. One thing I'm noticing in my HomeLab setup, it looks like it did get restarted. It does not keep the state. So that'll be interesting. Mark that done. Um, okay. Let's go take a look at our task file. Preview that file. Status. So what other files did it create? Mhm. Oh, so my transmitter's at 10%. That's fine. We're almost done for today's session. We're going to leave the local LLM for another session. I'm considering this getting the base of the network set up. And option 3, let's see. Deploy the LXC at a server. DNS overrides. Direct LDAP in the app for apps that have native LDAP support. Creating for OS level where you want users to log in using LDAP to install SSD inside the LXC. Right, this. So what I'm trying to see is with LLDAP, yeah, can we provision or use that for SSH login to our Linux containers? That was like the whole purpose, instead of having to create, our own users all the time, trying to see, is that possible? It looks like it's a potential option. And it did give me some instructions here. So I would, like, you get the machine provision first, and then you'd install these tools, and then you would write a configuration file, which points to my LDAP server. There's the bind along with the password or auth token, and Shema, just enable. So one of the user gets their own home directory. So that's something I'd research a little bit more. LLDAP, like, it's, just understand it even more, because a lot of the stuff right now, I am obviously letting the tool make the best decisions. Again, it's a home network, home lab, so I'm okay with doing that. But I do want to understand more about these underlying options in general. It looks like I'm about to reach my context soon. I'm zooming into auto. Oh, well, it's compacting now, as a matter of fact. So we're going to let it compact. And then we're just going to see, hopefully the last test is that we'll be able to use LLDAP to sign into a Linux machine. And if so, that's great. Oh, actually, here it is. That question that I had, does the user get a home directory? Absolutely. The user can get a home directory with this command here. So auto provisions the user on that machine. So, all right, it's going to create a clean LXC machine, which we'll configure it. And it's looking at Proxmox again, since it does have the permissions on that. And it's going to create this test machine, VMID of 111. It's going to call it SSSD-test, and the IP address of 10.0.10.50. The container is up, and it confirms it can reach LDAP. And we can confirm by coming over here, doing a refresh, and there's the test machine, and then the network, there's the IP address. Again, clean IP addresses. And now what it's doing is doing that installation. So what it was telling us over here, it's going to handle that for me. And I just thought about it. What may end up happening, this might end up becoming my Proxmox sandbox environment. I might migrate this so I have two other machines, or I'll use my laptop. What I'll end up doing is I'll probably, when I do use the local agent, I'm probably going to run that in parallel, or at least also try to get it to run this network. So that way I can compare a local agent of how it behaves as opposed to using Claude. So no, ideally you want to use a local agent on your network and things like that. But because I just want to get this up and running and do this test, this proof of concept, I'm okay with using Claude for now. All right, here's our harness. Hold on, no, let me check. And it does see my user account. And this might be a good use case for a not Terraform, but crap. I forget the file format that you can use to provision infrastructure. I know you can do it with Terraform, but there's something else that I'm thinking of that you can do it locally. And it's going to hit my mind in a minute. Start with an A. Yeah, I can't think of it. Query for existing users. and it set the user ID and the group ID for Linux. You do need those things, so it set it to the first available number. Okay, it says the user is live, but I don't have a shell or a home directory. There we go, home directory, and gives me a bash shell, which is what I want. Okay, it looks like it changed. Not sure if it changed my LDAP password. Notice this here. Didn't work. Okay. So right now it's just testing SSH to confirm if it'll work. Because the user should have been created now. And I'm seeing password failure issues. Because it was able to change to that user. It looks like the login was successful. Only concern that I have, well, at least currently, obviously I need to understand more about LLDAP, is that the password is not the password that I created for the user in that LDAP system. So um, let's go to the machine, and it's 10.50. So let's see if we can actually SSH into it. And sure enough, we can SSH using the password it created. So that's the one thing I do want to solve. Then again, I can go to home and I can see that user does have a directory. I can do cat etc password, and I can see is a system user. Ooh, I guess the user does. I guess well, it doesn't get added to. Interesting. So this is where I need to understand more. Obviously, the user is there, but I guess they won't exist in the regular Etsy password directory, because that would be local. But this is using LDAP. Come back over here. Here's what accomplished. And so, question. Why is the password different from the user's LLDAP password? Because I don't want it to set, because just setting a different password every single time, that doesn't do any benefit either. I want to make sure that that password carries over from that LDAP system. Because remember when I went to, I'll let that think for a second. Like for example, when we went to the home network, and I'll do the inspect, and I've got to delete that Athelia session, clear it. If we refresh, I'm able to log in with the user that's in the LDAP system, but I want to be able to use this same password when it comes to SSH as well. Interesting. Okay. Then I ran. Yep. To get the user. But the same password now says log in to go to reset the password. We'll use it. New password. Okay, gotcha. So the password is okay. Okay, so it is using that password. So if I come back over here to the LDAP page for my user account, I should be able to come in here and change the password. And even see this GUID number and UID, I believe that's for Linux. So that's great. So I can create multiple users if I want. And where do I change? Modify password. There we go. New password. And we'll save this. And I'm going to come in and inspect and go to application. And we're going to clear. And we're going to go ahead and refresh. And I should be able to put my username and my new password in, and I get access to this. Let's go ahead and exit out of this Linux machine, come back to the test server, and put in the password in LLDAP, and I can get in. So I consider this a complete and total win for today. So now I have an LDAP system that can provision users. I think one other thing would probably be like SSH, like adding my SSH key. But I would deal with that later. I would consider this success for what I wanted to accomplish today. So if I come back over here, I would say, yeah, the auth rollout is complete. I will have to update this site again so it can have projects as well as so I can keep track of history, because it did have to restart so that it lost its stream segments. But this is just a way to kind of keep up with my streams and my activity. So I'll be working on this in parallel. But yeah, I consider this, I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish today. So with that said, this is going to be the end of today's stream. Thanks for those that did join in, added your comments. I do appreciate it. I'm almost on a 7-day streak, I think, with my streaming. But I'm gonna keep trying to do something every single day, even a little bit. And also all my notes looks like was updated. So if I come over here, I can look at my my journal. Let's see, one second. Matter of fact, did it add a? I said it actually added a very detailed journal entry here, so I can kind of see what I did. This is for the day, and then these are the breakdown summary. So some of this is a carryover from when I was doing my initial HomeLab. I had a very simple like task update status file, and then I had a journal for each day. So it looks like it's going to keep up with that, and it should be. Oh wait, no wait, hold on. I thought that was. Oh, that was old. That was old. Okay, never mind. Never mind. So go ahead, go to preview and just verify what we accomplished today. and some of this kind of got mingled with that. And that's, like I said, when you're compacting a conversation, some things get mingled. So I'll have that update this. But the Claude file, keeping that up to date, very important as well. So yeah, so today we accomplished what we wanted to as far as like getting LDAP set up, getting Athelia set up, so now we can authenticate to our web applications. Again, that's going to be the purpose of it. Eventually, I'm going to have a dashboard throughout my home, and might be a services that I'll just want someone to authenticate to, and they can just either select their account, maybe via a button as well, via OAuth authentication. But right now, the biggest thing is that I can provision those users on Linux the way that I want. So with that said, thanks for stopping by for the stream. Catch you guys tomorrow. Haven't decided on a specific time yet, but I will try to make sure that I put out notifications at least 10 to 15 minutes before I do go live, so you can get settled in and join the stream. So with that said, thanks for stopping by. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.